Gamers, what I've got for you today are 3 games featuring the greatest StarCraft 2 Protoss in the entire world. In these particular games though, he's facing off against the Brood War units. So I have one game where MaxPax, our blue Protoss player, is going up against a Brood War Terran. This time around it's a barcode, I don't know who this is. Then he's also gonna go up against a Brood War Zerg, and then lastly, we're gonna watch him face off against a Brood War Protoss. Not entirely sure what to expect, but apparently they've managed to even get MaxPax to try out this mod. Obviously, MaxPax is somebody who grinds a ton of games. I'm not sure exactly how much time he makes for shenanigans like this, but he's probably thinking too, yeah, there might be a tournament or maybe another one at some point in the future. Let me just go ahead and give a look at this mod as well. I actually kind of hope that he would be playing with some of the Brood War units too, but from what I understand, he is going to be playing with only StarCraft 2 troops, and well, he's going up against some very highly ranked StarCraft Evolution players. The mod, by the way, in case you're unfamiliar, it's called StarCraft Evolution. It's been very popular over the last month or two, where basically one player is playing Brood War and the other one is playing StarCraft 2. Obviously, the Brood War units do play out quite a bit differently than all of the StarCraft 2 tools do, but it's gonna be fun to see exactly what ended up going down here. So far, actually, I've been very impressed with this mod overall. I wonder how MaxPax is going to approach this, though. I would not be surprised if he's just gonna do, like, his most standard opener ever. Like, how in the world would a Brood War Terran, and I'm just thinking out loud here, I'm not sure, but how in the world would a Brood War Terran hold a 4-gate Blink Stalker opener? I want to believe, but I think it's gonna be very hard. It's very hard for StarCraft 2. Like, StarCraft 2 Terran, that is. Maybe a 1-base opener is the way to go. So this is 1-base StarCraft 1 Terran with double factory already. Okay. So Vultures are, of course, very good. Siege tanks are really good, especially after you get the machine shop. Yep, you do need to get a machine shop and then research the siege mode. But I can imagine that overall, this is going to be really quite difficult for the StarCraft 1 Terran. But anyways, we'll have to find out together. Yeah, it will be a Twilight Council opener, so that does not surprise me all too much. I kind of would like to see the man who I consider to have the best Blink Stalker micro in the world. I kind of would like to see him just do a good old 4-gate all-in. Because that's ultimately how you can balance a game mode like this, right? We've seen a lot of games where we do have macro matches and the games just go on for a very long time. But then usually, at least the way that it's always been in StarCraft 2, somebody figures out how to, do a strategy better than anybody else. And then it turns out that particular strategy is actually quite broken. It's just that nobody else is good enough at executing it. Anyways, it's gonna be Vultures here, so we have Speed Vultures together with the Mine upgrade. So that will allow them to put down some Spider Mines. Obviously, in Brood War, you cannot actually lower the supply depots. So those Vultures are gonna have to go out through the front door by that barracks getting lifted. Alright, it's gonna be straight up Blink. Walling here at the front door makes a lot of sense. Robo facility after a 2nd gateway. We're gonna see a 3rd. Question is, will we see a 4th as well? Triple gate is usually, yeah, quite committed, right? Yep, it is gonna be 4-gate. Okay, so I've been very much so wondering about this. 4-gate Blink Stalker, microed by MaxPax, going up against Brood War Terran. Great walling, by the way. Excellent walling. Yeah, some of the Vultures will be able to sneak in. But I mean, we should be able to get quite a bit of production over the next... Okay. Over the next seconds. Yeah, we have a couple of the mines being used here. Fair enough. Mines trying to sacrifice themselves. In the meantime, though, there's a lot more mines over in the natural expansion. You know what? Maybe this 1-base Terran shenanigans is not so bad after all. Okay. I was doubting it. I was not sure. Oh, how good that build was going to be. But it turns out Vultures are a little bit tankier, or at least they feel a lot tankier than the Hellions would be. Just like that. He's actually dead. Well then. Next up, next victim. Or maybe it's actually MaxPax who's the victim. But our next victim is going to be a barcode Zerg. So, the most standard build for StarCraft 2's Protoss vs Terran did not work very well against a Brood War 1-base opener. What about Zerg? What do we do in this matchup? Well, MaxPax, it looks like he wants to go for a low ground wall-off once again. He's now going up, though, against the Zerg player who's playing Brood War, and he's gonna go into a gas straight into a spawning pool. So, no shenanigans here with expansions. MaxPax may be going onto autopilot a little bit too much. Yeah. I don't really know, by the way, how much Brood War MaxPax has ever played or seen. So, according to his Wikipedia, I think MaxPax is currently like 19 years old, meaning that he was like -6 when Brood War came out. It's been a while. I mentioned this before, but I've had discussions with StarCraft 2 pro gamers in the past. Very good players, okay? And one of them said to me, Loko, what's a mothership core? And that made me feel old, right? Because in my mind, the mothership core was around for a very long time. And I can imagine there's a lot of people watching here that also have no idea what a mothership core. But the fact that people did not really know, like very highly ranked players didn't really know about, well, Heart of the Swarm, which in my mind is really not that long ago. I can imagine those people definitely have no clue about StarCraft Brood War. Anyways. Maybe MaxPax, what I'm trying to get at, is in that category of people too, you know? Maybe he's one of those guys that has heard of StarCraft 1. He knows about, you know, the need to research Siege mode, for example, but that may be his first time that he's ever seen a Vulture. Honestly, hard to say. Anyways, Cybercore is coming up. Zealot, perfectly timed. The timings here, not that much different than what we would see in StarCraft 2. An Adept, obviously, is a unit that you don't have access to, but here's the problem. Zerglings in Brood War are very strong. Yeah, you have to respect them. Just the Zealot alone is not going to cut it. But there's no Adepts, obviously, in StarCraft 1. Getting a Dragoon out at this point would be kind of tough. Especially for StarCraft 2 Protoss, but there's the Adept. Yeah, and the Adept is going to be amazing when it comes to hunting down links. But keep in mind, this is a quick gas opener as well by the Zerg. Meaning that, yep, exactly. MaxPax is playing StarCraft 2 strategies with no adjustment here to what, you know, the Brood War player would be going for at all. This is certainly something he can defend, though. It's just annoying. It's more difficult than it needs to be. There's more links on the production tab. 4 hatcheries here from the Zerg. Gases will be mined once again, or gas rather, will be mined here once again, but this is mostly just what seems to be a one base all-in here. Or at least, like, as far as economy goes, a one base all-in here from the Zerg player. Twilight Council, once again, will be the weapon of choice. I have no idea, by the way, about standard build orders for Protoss in Brood War myself. I know that there's been some, we did see some Nexus into Forge shenanigans on New Fighting Spirit. I noticed that people in the YouTube comment section made fun of me for that one. They were like, ha! Look at this Loko guy, he has no idea about Brood War builds. So yeah, I apparently was a little surprised by a Nexus into a Forge opener, but apparently that's not that weird. Anyways, it looks like this is going all right though for MaxPax right now. Let's see. Love the sound effect of the Brood War units. Yeah, at this point, the Brood War economy is not going to be nearly as good. So we're now talking 22 drones versus 34 probes, and that means indeed that this income advantage is going to go heavily in favor here of MaxPax, who wants to go into the good old Gleifd Adept opener. Okay, nothing weird against Protoss, or against Zerg rather, for Protoss in StarCraft 2. Maybe not the most popular build. Most popular one obviously would be going Stargate into Oracles. But this is still going to be good. Now, obviously, we have a full wall pretty much here at the front. Oh, there's a couple holes in the wall, but interesting setup. Maybe once again, the standard for what you do in Brood War. But anyways, he's going to go into the good old Hydra Den. Obviously, the Hydra list Den, it got replaced with the release of StarCraft 2 by a Roach Warren. In Brood War, you have access to the Hydra Den at Hatchery Tech, but there is no Roach Tech, and these Hydras should be able to pack quite a punch. If I'm not mistaken, Brood War Hydralisks are not light? Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that Gleifd Adepts will not be able to just destroy Hydras as easily. But I've got a feeling this is going to be mostly just a numbers game. Because these Adepts, even though they might not be able to deal any bonus damage, they're still going to hurt. Zerg, by the way, is droning. Now we're gonna have a couple of these creep colonies coming up. We have to see some Sunkens. Dark Shrine on the back of this, too. Yeah, how do you hold this? I have no idea how you hold this as a Brood War Zerg. 11 Hydras are coming, so maybe it's fine. I mean, the Hydras definitely do behave a little differently. They have their speed upgrade, so that's nice and all. And obviously, they have quite a bit of range, even without the ranged upgrade. As far as the Dark Templar goes, by the way, so they will be hitting the battlefield soon. Assuming he even needs it, to be honest. But Overlords are detectors, just good old Overlords. So we have 2 of them close to the side of the Zerg. Already, though, 15 drones have gone down. And there were only about 40-something in total. Yeah, and this is one of those movement patterns, the way that the Adept behaves. It's just not something, if you mostly play StarCraft 1, it's not something you're gonna be used to. Alrighty, last game for today. We find ourselves on New Fighting Spirit. A 4-player map, which is obviously a little different than what we have in StarCraft 2, where all of the maps nowadays are 1v1. This time around, the challenger is going to be a Brood War Protoss, and Max here is still playing with the StarCraft 2 Protoss. I've actually enjoyed the mirror matchups quite a bit. I don't remember if I've seen a mirror matchup or like a Protoss versus Protoss in this mod before. But I did see a bunch of Zerg versus Zergs, and it's kind of interesting, because, for example, in the Brood War units, they don't have access to Banelings, right? So, just seeing those, those Brood War links, running around, you need to play a lot more defensively. But then on the flip side, with Brood War Zerg versus Zerg, you can get those lurkers out significantly earlier. MaxPax going cross-scout first, it seems. Fair enough. Yeah, a lot of Koreans like to hide their IDs, so I'm not entirely sure who these players are. But it's safe to assume that these players are going to be very good at the game. Yeah, the thing is about the highest level of StarCraft 2, right? Like, the margins for error are so tiny that if you have pro gamers executing those threats as crisply as possible, it certainly has a chance to make the game look utterly broken and to make one race look significantly better than others. Anyways, low ground expo here for MaxPax. This is obviously something he's been doing in this matchup. Even though none of the other... Wait, is that a Rich Vespian Geyser? Oh my god, it's a Rich Vespian Geyser. There's only... I've casted so many games on... Did they update the map? Did I really never notice that this only... What? Has that always been there on every other game that I've cast on a New Fighting Spirit? I guess there's a million and one things for me to talk about, so maybe I just never paid attention to it, but this may be a new update. Either that or I'm dumb and I didn't see it before. Alright, anyways, it's only a single gas, so the gas income will still be similar. Looks like the mineral fields, by the way, are still the same as they always have been. Yeah, I did check out the mineral fields many times, but... Huh. We've got the good old ranged upgrade coming up right now for the Dragoons. There they are. What are the Dragoons' voice lines? I'm not sure. Suck, la la la. Something like that, right? Suck, la la. Yeah, that's something they say. Let's see. He's going to be moving across the map. Dragoons, of course, with regular pathing. I'm not exactly sure how a battle between a Stalker and a Dragoon would go, but I can imagine it's going to be very favorable for the Dragoon player. Because these guys kind of remind me of the granddaddy of both Stalkers as well as Immortals. These are kind of like an Immortal Stalker. Still though, the Adepts definitely are causing some issues. 2 probes, quite acceptable. I think a lot of this could have been prevented by our Brood War player here if he did decide to go for a wall off on the low ground, just like MaxPax did. Hello? Okay. So, we already have an Oracle out. That one is now on the other side of the map. Oh, he's bypassing those Dragoons. No reaction, it looks like, from the Brood War player. The Adept trying to serve as a distraction to try and create some movement here for the Oracle. Okay. Our Brood War player is not going to be fully distracted, it seems. And, oh, it's a high ground. He can't see. It's a high ground, so he actually couldn't see it. Needed some vision. Photon cannon coming up inside of the mineral line. Yep, on both bases. Let's see. Okay, so now we've got ourselves a nice little macro game, though. Not really seeing any ways in which this game could be over. At least not in a minute or two. Unlike the previous matches. It looks like it's going to be the Twilight Council right now into the Robo facility. Robo facility as well on the other side of the map. How good are... How good are... What are they called? Not the Robo... The big Robo guys. The slugs. The Robo support bay dudes. The REAVERS. Yes, REAVERS. That's the word. How good are REAVERS in Protoss versus StarCraft 2 Protoss? I have no idea. I wonder if it's better to just go Mass Dragoon, to be honest, because Dragoons are incredibly good. Yeah, look at their damage. Dragoons are incredibly good. Yeah, battery overcharge is not being respected here at all, though, which is a bit of a surprise. I don't think he should have stuck around, but anyways. I think the Dragoons are really good when they can just move around like you want them to, you know? Like, the problem with Dragoons is that oftentimes in Brood War, you're right over here, you give them an attack command to go into the main base, and are like, oh, main base? Let me go over here to the opposite corner of the map instead. Dragoons are a little derpy, but obviously in StarCraft 2, they have a bit of an easier time. There is an Immortal now in the mix. Dude, this is like an entirely different evolutionary path right now. Yeah, we have... the Dragoons are like the grandfather of both of these. Oracles continue harassing, and the eco harassment is nice and all, but it's not like MaxPax's economy is substantially better. He's going into +1 together with the Blinky Boy upgrade, but that's still a while away. There's a Reaver on the production tab. Yeah, the Immortals are good. Immortals definitely are the weapon of choice here. It looks like MaxPax has just decided to think the same thing as he's trying to sneak out another probe. Looks like he wants to expand in the direction of the opponent. It's an ambitious play. Gravitic Drive coming up inside of the Robo support bay. That's the Speedy Boy upgrade for the Prism. It looks like maybe our Brood War Protoss is thinking about making an expansion on the left side of the map, but there's a bit of vision there as well for MaxPax. So I have no idea how a Reaver does against Immortals. No clue. It's probably good, but I honestly don't know. How does it work against Blink? Will the Scarab continue flying around if you blink? Like, how does it work? I have no idea about the interaction. I guess we'll find out. If you shoot a Scarab right here at these Stalkers, and the Stalkers blink away while the Scarab is in the air, is it going to chase? Oh my god. The Dragoons are not messing around, man. There's a shield battery over here, too. Gravitic Drive is going... Oh, okay, I was going to say it's going to finish, but that shuttle is on the same control group as everything else. That means that our Reaver is going to have to do some walking, but the straight-up Dragoons are doing amazing. Although then the Immortals show up. Here's a Scarab. Okay, it looks like the Scarab flies, but the Stalkers can still blink while it's in the air. And apparently, yep, it explodes. Okay, so that is my main question there. It looks like, in a very strange way, the Reavers are not good against Stalkers, because they're so good against Stalkers, but the Stalkers blink away, and that leaves the Immortals exposed. So even though the Reavers kind of suck against the Immortals, they're great against the Stalkers blink back, and ooh, that is allowing the rest of the Protoss army here for the Brood War player to kill the rest of the Immortals. It's a strange interaction. It looks, by the way, like MaxPax. Okay, he did go for a stasis ward here. He is going to go into his own Robo Bay. And I guess he'll be making Disruptors? I think Disruptors are actually an insane choice. What do you do here as a Brood War Protoss against Disruptors? Honestly, the Stalker numbers may just be a little bit too big. At this point, there's also a Nexus over here at the bottom. Great blink control here by MaxPax. As expected. All right, there's a Disruptor coming. Nexus will be finishing up here as well in about half a minute or so. It's going to be for our red player. Oracles are still waiting off to the side. Yeah, I think MaxPax is onto something. Here's the Disruptors. Very powerful tool. Because you basically have to split. I guess your best option is just to split. Doesn't seem like a very good option to me. These units are nearly as fast as, like, Stimpak Bio. Or, for example, I don't know, a bunch of Ling Bane. It also depends on the range, though. The Disruptor range is really quite significant. They can go pretty much around the corner here. Here we go, here we go, here we go. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Nothing. That's the answer. Yeah, you do nothing. You just... Okay. Yeah, good choice. Yeah, good choice. I don't think you're really gonna get a bigger hit than that. And now the Disruptor count is growing. Now, there are Zealots coming, or at least charges coming, but we have no Zealots. And I think with that hit... Yeah, now we have one Zealot for charge, fair enough. With that hit, MaxPax might just be able to test the waters for the win here. He's going to continue fighting. Nicely done. In the meantime... Okay, hold up. I apparently missed it. Since these guys became next-door neighbors, the shuttle decided to... not fight the Stalkers anymore and go after the mineral line, so that's nice. Already, though, look at the pre-split here. Oh, MaxPax very good. Yeah, so this is while this fight over here is happening. Those Reavers do a bit of damage, and at least they prevent mining, but... not quite the case. MaxPax right now is going to be heading on over towards the left side of the map. I guess the idea behind that is to shut down the economy. This is, of course, a Brood War map, so there's quite a bit of money still remaining in the main base. In StarCraft 2, at the 10-minute mark, your economy would basically be dead if you're on 2 base, but... he still has, as we have a flank coming in, he still has multiple minutes of mining in him. But I think at this point, yeah, the economy for MaxPax is just too big, the army is too large. And because of that, it's our StarCraft 2 Protoss who gets another win on the board. So really, his only problem was those vultures, right? And I think if he would have had one more unit, if he had one more unit to continue body blocking against the vultures for just a bit longer, he would have been fine in that game as well.